What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today's video, we're going to do some hammering, some cutting, some grinding, all the same stuff. Got to remove the old motor mounts that I put in incorrectly. I mean, I put them in all right, but they're not in the right spot, so we're going to move them. You can see the cut off motor mounts for the old inline 6. Those are going to get cut off the frame and then cleaned up and painted. We don't need them anymore. I will also be cutting into the firewall, making room to back set the V8 a little further back. I realized I was too far forward about a week and a half ago, and that was what basically got me to the point of having to do what I'm doing right now in the video, which is cut out the motor mounts that I had just put in. These things happen when you're building a car. You know, this isn't like a Model A build where you can just look up where to put everything and somebody's already done it 10 times. I'm kind of figuring this out as I go, so it's a little more difficult as far as like the fabrication or building end of it. I have to test stuff and just see if it works. I also put the engine in before I had the water pump, and that's my own fault, so we can all laugh at that one together. That was my own fault, 100%. So yeah, just, you know, a lot of this is some of the things that you've seen in other videos that I've done, but it's like a big culmination of all of that I did in 2 days to get the engine and the transmission back in the car, set back correctly. That way we can move forward with, you know, better stuff. So yeah, just keep a watch and you'll see what I do, and I'll explain some stuff along the way. But from here, I'm probably just going to play a little bit of music for you. Couple quick things of note here. I was not grinding into anything besides my welds there with the cutoff wheel. As you can see, I did not cut into the frame rails, just the welds. Just cut the welds if you're ever cutting anything out. You don't have to go into the parent metal. That just causes more drama. I am proud of myself, I will say, for finally working up the nerve to cut into the car sheet metal. I didn't cut anything besides the trunk floor out because I wanted to do this without ever putting a grinder wheel to it, and that's just completely impossible. So, I don't know, maybe there's people out there that are a lot smarter than I am that could do that without cutting the firewall, but yeah, keep watching and you'll see I end up cutting out a healthy sized chunk. So, here we go. And as you can see here, I'm just trying to get the metal clean, get all the paint and coke off it. There's like some weird rubber stuff around some of those knocked out circles there that really stinks when you use a wire wheel on it. So it's probably super toxic. Um, yeah, just getting things cleaned up, getting ready to be able to mark it and cut it. Ooh, look at that. Wow. So shiny. If there's any old Dodge guys or girls out there that know what that PDS stands for, drop a comment and let me know. Thanks. And we're going to need a moment of silence for the tape measure that didn't quite make it through that day in the shop. For how janky of a yard sale $2 tape measure that thing was, it lasted years. But hey, I got myself a nice Stanley Fat Max. But I did notice during that moment of silence that my shop was actually under attack. And I went outside to see what it was, and that's when I realized that I got bozitos there. Look at these bozos. Look at them pecking the concrete. There's nothing to eat there. They're sick. There's something wrong with them. They're morons. All right, anyway, back to cutting out the firewall. This old gal's a dirty girl, and I got proof right there. Look at that. That's why I take a little wax remover and just kind of wipe it down. just so the Sharpie sticks a little better. Look at that nice new tape measure. Man, that thing shines. Anyway, take your time when you're taking measurements like this and stuff. Kind of, the old adage, measure twice, cut once, all that. Yeah, that especially counts when you're removing pieces of sheet metal, because you can put them back, but it's going to be pretty difficult. So, yeah, take your time when you're taking these kind of numbers. It's interesting watching these videos as I edit them. I realized something about myself. I literally have laser levels and I don't even use them. I don't use them for the stuff I do on the car. I just use regular, good old fashioned bubble levels, and they work fine. They do everything I need them to do. I mean, the lasers actually might be a little easier here and there, but I notice I just don't even use them for some reason. Well, check in on the old 318. Just basically getting a number for width and trying to locate where the distributor is, because the distributor is offset to the driver's side a little bit. Figure out how much I got to go around the distributor, and figure out where to make the cut. Try and make a logical decision before I just start hacking into something, because once you cut it, it's cut. Put a little C there. C is not for cookie, it is for center. And I think what I did is I just split the width from each side, and then kind of realized in the middle of doing that I could sort of just cut out that area that's depressed into the firewall right there, and that's kind of cool, because I didn't really want to take out a ton of metal. I just wanted to take out what I needed. But as you'll see later in the video, I'm dead wrong about that. But hey, you got to start somewhere. And of course, I end up having to cut into the firewall twice. So yeah, things are going in a good direction here. Marking out some cuts I need to make. Things seem like, yeah, this is, like I'm on the right path. We'll cut a little area out. We'll slide the engine back a little further. It'll give us room for the water pump that I did not account for the first time I did this. And then maybe, just maybe, the second time I put these motor mounts in, they'll be right. So yeah, like I said, I constantly recheck my numbers. I lay everything out before I make any cuts. I don't just get in there with a grinder blade and just start cutting like crazy, because you really don't want to make extra cuts. You don't want to make more work. You don't want to make more welding work. You just want to cut out the bare minimum. And here's a nice little trick. I was trying to find an arch, or like a half circle that was the right diameter, and my grinding shield kind of worked out to be pretty good. So yeah, obviously just trace that. Yeah, how many people thought I actually have a piece of the floor? That's a quality piece of metal right there, because that's something I won't have to remake later. I wanted to just put the firewall in real quick and see what I would be disturbing with this cut, and basically what would be missing. Just a quick reference. Again, check everything 100 times before you cut. And that's it. That's the distributor cut out in the firewall that I made. The distributor cap and the wires should fit in there. Woohoo, there it is. Here's a close-up of where I cleaned off the motor mounts that I had welted on. And as you can see with my finger, ooh, yeah, we got a nice little deformity there. I was having so many problems with my welder that night that I'm surprised it's not worse. And that was a piece of the original inline 6 motor mount. I drilled the rivets and then just ground down a couple spots where it was welded really crazy, so I just ground it down and made it so it wasn't sharp. But yeah, that's everything there cleaned up. And for those who don't really understand what I'm doing, that cutout in the firewall is for that distributor right there. All right. Ah, yes, the old floating small block, everybody's favorite. So this is one of those moments where everyone is going to be able to see, I don't know, my inexperience in doing this. I completely forgot that you have to have valve cover clearance also. So after I cut out the firewall for the distributor and put that nice U-shaped cutout in there, I put the engine back in its place and realized, okay, I'm totally screwed. There's not enough room to even move it back. You know, those can't touch the firewall. So here I am again, figuring out some more cuts that are going to have to get made. But that's what this is about. Like, you got to, like, take stuff and look at it and put it together and see if it works. And then you have to make it work. And I feel like that's what I just had to do. I didn't want to cut more out of the firewall, but I'm going to have to. I mean, look at that right there. That don't work. So Yeah, that's basically what happens here. Enjoy. That's why I can find stuff. For anybody wondering, the white spray paint is because I could not see the magic marker on the black paint or the bare metal. I think some of it was just because I had so much sunlight coming in the garage door from in front of me that it just made I couldn't see anything. So I just put a quick spritz of white on there so I could see the lines that I was laying out. Problem solved. All right, all that firewall cutting took a hot minute, and at this point I was a little nervous. I was like, man, that's a lot of the firewall that's gone. But what are you gonna do? The engine's got to fit, you know. You want to make a hot rod, you got to cut some stuff up. If you want to make a hot rod, you have to cut some stuff up. Know what I mean? All right, let's see if this thing fits. Make a little adjustment here. That's called manual steering right there. Yo, dude, watch the chrome parts. I was actually a little bummed that I tapped the valve cover. I don't think I did any damage, but yeah, that's a real smooth operator right there, buddy. Uh, yeah, if you have nice chrome parts, make sure you don't leave them out to damage them like I just did. Definitely have plenty of room now for all the clearances. Like I said, I might have cut a little too much out, but I just wanted to make sure I had enough space. Lowbrow car builder tip of the day: uh, get your water pump before you set your motor mounts. But yeah, that looks good. Got enough space now. Since this is like a DIY garage build, you'll see I use simple things to keep things in place. I don't have a big jig table and the frame up on a welding table and all that. I just use a couple little tools here and there to help me keep things kind of centered and aligned. I understand it doesn't lock it in like perfectly, but it keeps things from moving. Like the way the block was hanging, it could twist a little from side to side, and you wouldn't really notice. But that keeps it straight. And that little one little piece of metal, that tab that's on the driver's side, that keeps it resting against that, so it keeps it still. That's really all you need. A lot of the rest of this video is me just putting in the motor mounts, and I have an entire video that I posted previously that talks about how to do all of this. So I'm probably not going to talk too much through this because it's the same process. Luckily, I was able to flip a bunch of the motor mounts that I already made around, re-drill them, and they fit in other places. So I lucked out right there by not having to spend 2 more hours cutting out more plate. So that looks like it fits pretty well. The hole lined up that I drilled. Throw a couple tacks on it, lock it in place. Since the plate's kind of heavy, I do some tacks that are a little beefier than normal. You can't really tell because the video's sped up, but I hold the welder there for a little longer than I normally would to just touch two pieces of metal like that. That small tack weld that was on the bottom right corner there, that's on purpose. There's a recess in the frame, and it just made it sit a little nicer by having it bump out a hair. I was on a roll that day. I was doing pretty good time wise, and I was just like, you know what? Let's get this transmission back in there. I actually have already built the transmission mount. I made that from scratch, and I got to get it into the X member under the car. But I couldn't do any of that until everything was back to where it was from my last motor mount video. What was that, over 2 weeks ago? So, yeah. Bear with me as I get the transmission in the car and then get everything leveled out. For me, getting the transmission in is no easy task. I use a combination of floor jack, jack stands, and then just kind of brute force and slide things around. If you're doing stuff like this, just always be aware of what can fall and what can pinch or slam your hand if it's in between something. I always keep that in mind. I know I joke about being an ogre and lowbrow and all that, but you want to take the high road when it comes to protecting your fingers and toes and eyes and all that stuff. All right, safety rant's over. Sorry, I just figured I'd throw that in there. At this point, if you've made it this far through this video, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you've learned anything, that's awesome. If you have anything to contribute in the comments, go for it. I'm always open ears. I appreciate the people that watch the videos. I appreciate, I don't know, just being able to build this and share it. I have a lot of fun doing this, and I had no idea what was going to happen when I started this channel, but I'm actually starting to enjoy it, and I'm actually, it drives me to get things done on this vehicle that I started over 2 years ago, And, I'd work on it for a month and it would just sit in my shop. And now I'm out there 3, 4 times a week, working on something, planning, getting footage, making the content to watch, the whole nine. And I just want to say thanks to everybody who's watching. I really appreciate it. Like I said a few minutes earlier, I was really gunning to get everything back in order. The engine on the motor mounts, being supported by the motor mounts, the transmission in the vehicle, everything leveled to my standards and where I want it. And I just kind of kept going on this and kept filming and kept working, and I'm glad I did. Uh, yeah, as you'll see over the last couple minutes here, I just kind of weld everything up decently and just did more tacks. I didn't really finish weld everything. I just put a bunch of nice beefy tacks on there to make sure the engine would not be on the floor the next day when I walk in the shop. But yeah, from here, like I said, we can work on the transmission, cross member, and some other things. Probably close up the firewall. You know, there's a lot of extra holes that I won't be using there, old heater hoses and stuff like that. Get rid of all that. And of course, all of that will become future content for all those that are interested in seeing it. This was definitely a point where I was just stoked. I was happy to be able to unhook the engine and let it, let the car hold the engine up. The mounts held. I was happy about that. Transmission's in, engine's level, and I think I even do a little walk around at the end of this so you can see that the engine is level. But yeah, not a bad day in the shop for me. I feel like I got a lot accomplished, and now we're ready to go on to the next step. I did those motor mounts wrong once, and I took them out and fixed it as quick as possible. When I built this gantry crane in my shop, I built it out of scrap material that I was able to find, an old chain fall that I had, and I was like, man, this seems like it's overkill. it's going to be in the way in the shop, blah, 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 blah. And I've used it every step of the way for so many things. I've used it to pull things out of the bed of my daily driver pickup. It's just, it works great. And if you can make something like this, do it, because you'll definitely put it to use. And that's it for this week's video. Again, I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate my subscribers. Thank you so much. And yeah, stay tuned. I'll have another video up in a week or so.